In earlier versions of Exchange Server, we had a component called the Hub Transport Server. The Hub Transport Server no longer exists in Exchange Server 2019, and we have a single server that performs all the tasks. One of the things the Exchange Server does is it moves mail messages. What we can do in the Microsoft Exchange Server is we can modify and configure some of the transport settings to just either optimize the way the mail flows through our system or just modify the way that it works through our email system. What I've done is I've come on my Microsoft Exchange server, and the first thing I'm going to do here is just launch up my Exchange Management Shell. So to launch the Exchange Management Shell, we come to Microsoft Exchange Server on the start and we click on our Exchange Server Management Shell. And what we're going to do in the Exchange Management Shell is we're just going to issue some commandlets that will allow us to see first off how it's configured, and then what we'll do is we'll actually modify some of those settings. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're just going to do a get hyphen, and then we're going to do transport, and then C, hit the tab key, and that brings me into my get hyphen transport config. We'll hit return. Shows me quite a bit of information, but if we have a look through here, we can see information relating to mail being passed through. So one of the things to point out here, internal max message attachment size is 10 meg. If we have a look up here as well, so external 10 meg. And as we can see, we have a few settings in here. Other things, for example, as well, external delay DNS enabled, true. So we'll use internal rather than external to start with. Max dumpster size per database. So the dumpster is, I suppose we could call that a safety net that we have, just so if we do lose a server, we have somewhere to replay the messages from. We've got our max send size sitting here at 10 meg, and so on down through this list. So one of the things we can do is, now that we can see these settings, we do have the ability to modify these settings. So what we'll do to start with though is we'll just have a look to see how all of the message size settings are set up. And we can do that again with our get hyphen transport config, but now what we'll do is we'll pipe that by using the shift backslash on my UK keyboard. We'll just format the list, and what we're going to look for is anything that's got max in it. So as we can see, we can now see all of the maximums. Now at this point here, we can see that really sending email at this point here, 10 meg. 10 meg's not a massive amount. So what we can do is we can modify these settings as well. And we can modify these settings by using the set hyphen transport config. And what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to do a set hyphen transport config. I'm going to do max send size of 20 meg and also as well receive of 20 meg. And what that will do is that will then modify that. So let's just do our up arrows here. Let's have a look at our maxes now. So we can see in both the send and receive, we're now sitting at 20 meg. Other places where we can modify the settings is we can also modify the settings as well through our Exchange Admin Center. So in our Exchange Admin Center, we have a mail flow feature. And in the case of the mail flow, what we have is we have various things on the mail flow. So rules, what rules do is they allow me to do something with the mail message as it passes through Microsoft Exchange Server. We have our delivery reports. So in an earlier demonstration, we had a look at how we can use delivery reports to find out whether or not SMTP is working correctly. What we also have is our accepted domains. And our accepted domains are what we accept email into. So at this point here, I'm only accepting email for datum.com. We have our email address policies. So with our email address policies, this is what generates the email addresses for our users. We have receive connectors. So we receive email through receive connectors. So we can see what we're receiving email to. So we have client. We also as well have default. So what we're doing at this point here is we're just specifying how mail comes through. So if I just go for example, for my default lon-ex1, and we just look at the properties by clicking on the edit button, what we can see at this point here is we can see general information. We can see security information, so we can see exactly what sort of security we're using to actually protect that connector. And in the case of scoping, what we apply it to, so we can see the network addresses that we're applying this to. And what we'll do is we'll just cancel that off. We also have our send connector, and our send connector is what we send email to. Another thing that's recommended or specified when you configure your Exchange server is you should really have a postmaster address set up as well. Now to specify the postmaster address, what we do is we come to our More button, and in our More button we come to our organizational transport settings. When we come in here, we can see the limits, so we can see our 20 meg send and receive. Safety net is the transport dumpster. And then what we have is we have delivery. So in the case of the delivery, what we can do at this point here is this is where we can specify our external postmaster address. So what we'll do is we'll specify this as postmaster@adatum.com. Then we'll select save, and that is our mail flow. And that's the end of this demonstration of looking at some of the places where we can modify how mail is transported through our organisation. Thank you.